Timotab, and today I'm going to solve Ferrum by rockratzero. This is another preview puzzle for the periodic puzzle project Kickstarter that rockratzero is hosting at the moment. And you can pledge in order to get a book which will have at least 118 puzzles, one for each of the elements on the periodic table. Because rockratzero is a chemistry professor, then as well as the puzzles, he has also included some chemistry facts and history along with the puzzles. So it looks to be a very interesting project. If you'd like to try this puzzle for yourself, it'll be the first link in the description. And I will also have a link to the Kickstarter campaign. All right, let's have a look at the rules. Normal sudoku rules apply. So we're going to place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, every column, and every box. Dutch whispers. Adjacent digits on an orange line must vary by at least 4. So if this were a 3, this would have to be a 7, 8, or 9 in order to be at least 4 away from it. Killer cages. Digits in a dashed cage sum to the value given in the top left of the cage. So these two digits are going to sum to 5. Difference pairs. Digits in cells joined by a white dot must differ by the digit in the dot. So if this were a 1, this would have to be a 3, and then this would have to be a 7, for example. Not all dots are necessarily given, so it's perfectly fine for this to be a 1-3 pair here by the rules. Okay, I am going to restart the puzzle to reset the timer, and let's begin. Well, these, yes, 2, the only digit that is 3 away from 2 is a 5. The only digits that are 2 away from 6 are 4 and 8. This now sums to 13, so these 3 digits need to sum to 13. Now, okay, let's talk a little bit about Dutch whispers. If I do not have a 5 on a segment of the Dutch whisper line, then I'm going to alternate between digits that are below 5 and above 5. Because the only digits that can go next to a 5 are 1 and 9. So if I have a 1 in a cell, then the next cell could be 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. But if we already know that we don't have a 5 on there, for example, we have a 5 in the row already, then we know it can be from 6, 7, 8, or 9, and they're all above 5. 9 could go next to a 5, but again, we can't have a 5 in part of this line. So 6, 7, 8, and 9 would have to go next to a 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we're going to alternate. So I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but I'm going to color those green. And those purple. And we know that if green is high, then purple is low, and if purple is high, then green is low. We're going to have some issues down here, but we will come to that in a bit. Okay, so if this is 4, then this has to be 8 or 9. But if it were 9, then this would be 13, and this would have to be 0. So if this is 4, this must be 8. And if that's 4 and 8, then this is a 1. If this is 8, then this would have to be 1, 3, or 4, because I can't use 2. But if it's 3, 8 plus 3 is 11. And then that would have to be a 2, which it can't be. So that is going to be 4 or 1. So if this is 8, this is 4 or 1, and then this is 1 or 4. And if this is 4, this is 8, and this is 1. That gives us a 1, 4, 8 triple in the box. And this is 3, 7, or 9. This can't be 7 because it's too close to 8 and 4. Okay. If this is 3, that would be 6. If it's 9, that'll be 6. If it's 7, that has to be 4. Okay. Right. The digits in a 2-cell 5 cage have to be from 1, 2, 3, and 4. These digits have to be 2 apart, but neither of them can be 3. So that means that I can't put a 1 in there either, and therefore that's a 2-4 pair. That is a 1-3 pair in order to complete the 5 cages. This now has to be 2 or 4, because it can't be 1 or 3, and this is a 1 or a 3. And in fact, it can't be a 3, that's a 1, that's a 4, this is a 3. This 4 is making this a 6, so that's not a 7. This now can't be a 6, so it must be a 2. And this must be a 6 to make that 8. So 3 is in one of those 3. These two digits are 5 and 8, in fact. So 6 is in one of those 3. Five and 8 between them are in those cells. Okay, if that's 1 and 3, then that gives me 3 low digits in the box. That means that these can't be low and this is low. And would be 2 or 4. If it were 4, that would be 8 and 9, and then that cell would break. So that would have to be a 2, if that's 1, 3. Can't be 2, 4 because of that cell. Can't be 3, 5 because of the 5 there. Can't be 4, 6 because of the 6 here. Can't be 5, 7. Can't be 6, 8. So it could be 7, 9 is the other option. If that's 7, 9, then I have 7, 8, and 9. So this would have to be 6. So if that's a 6, that's a 1, 2 pair, making that a 4. And if that's not a 6, it's a 2, making that a 4. So that's a 4. That's a 1. That's a 2. That's a 3. That places 3 onto one of those. That places 2 onto one of those. But if it were on here, it would have to go with a 4. So that's a 2 here. That's nice. Okay. So now this can't be 3, because if that were a 3, that would have to be a 1. So if that's 6, then that's 1 and 2. No, that would be 1. If that's 6, that's 1 and that's 2. If that's 2, then I have to have 6, 7, and 9. And then, so 1 is in one of those two. But if that's 1, no, 1 can be here. Never mind. If that's 7, 9, then that's 3. If that's 1, 3, if that's 1, 3, then that's 6. No, then that's 2. If that's 1, 3, that's 2. So this is going to be 3, 7, or 9. All right, what's going on here? Right, if this is 9, this can't be 1, 2, 3, or 4, so it must be 5. If this is 3, that would be 7, 8, or 9. And then it gets complicated here. Because if that's 9, well, that can only be 5 if that's 9, which then means that this would have to be 1. And if that's 7, 8, or 9, then that's low. So, okay, so this is from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me think. 6 is in one of those 3. Could be 3, 6, or 6, 9 there, or it could be all on its own over here. Oh, that 3, 9 pair makes that a 7. Okay, I can't have 8 on here because it would have to go with a 5. Right, 7 is in one of those two. Wait, maybe not. That could be 7. Right, these are from 5, 7, 8, 9. That's not 5 or 7. Okay. Right, if this were 4, this would have to be an 8, 9 pair. And that's going to break that cell. So that can't be 4. that could be, oh, if this were 5, then that would be 9, that would be 1, but what would that digit be? That can't be a 5. That still can be. If that were 5, that would be 1, that would be 9, that would be 7, that would be 4. So that can't be a 5. So that must be a high digit. Oh, this is a definite low digit. So we know that there's a 5 in here somewhere, because we need a 5 in the column. Okay, if the 5 is here, then that's 9 and that's 1. If the 5 is not here, then that's low, that's high, that's 3. Okay. If that's an 8, where does the 4 go? If that's an 8, I can't have a 4 in any of these because it needs to be surrounded by an 8-9 pair. So this would have to be a 4 here. And then that would be 9. That would be 3 as expected. That would not be 5. In fact, that would have to be 5. And then that would have to be, yeah, if that were 9, right, if that were 4, that would have to be, if this were 8, then the only place I can put 4 on this vertical bit of line is here, because if it's anywhere else, it needs an 8-9 pair surrounding it. So that would have to be 4. Because that's 8, this would now have to be 9. I know I need to have a 5 between a 1 and a 9 on the line. So if that's a 9, that has to be 5, that has to be 1, and then that's broken. That is not an 8, that is a 4. That makes this 9. That makes this 1. That's 8. This has to be 6 in order to be of the right polarity. That is a 1. That is a 2. And these two digits are 7 and 9. These are 4, 5, 8. And that's not a 4. Okay, if that's a 9, this has to be 5, and now this has to be 1. Okay, these are high digits, so that is 7 or 8. If that's 8, then that has to be 5 by being 3 away. So that is 7, and that is 4. So this is 9, because it can't be 6, 7, or 8. So this is a low digit and not a 1. So that's 2, 3, 4, or 5. It could be 5 still. But if that's 5, in fact, those aren't 5s there. Right, if this is 5, it can't be 7, because 7 is in one of those two. If it's 5, that could be 3, and then that would be 6. Okay, that seems reasonable. This 9 is making that 8. That makes that a 7-9 pair. This 1, 2 means that that can't be a 3 because that would have to be a 1. So that's the 3, and that's a 7-9 pair. That gives me a 7-9 pair in the column. Right, if this were 2, this would be 4, this would be 7. That seems reasonable. But in fact, let me place a 2 there and a 3 there, because that's sudoku. So that is now not 3. Let's do some sudoku down here. I need to place a 1, which can't go with a 4. So that's the 1. That's a 6-9 pair. This must be a low digit. Oh, that 9 is making that 3. This must be a low digit. In fact, it has to be sufficiently far away from 7. So that's 3 or less. So that's 2 or 3. It can't be a 1. This is a high digit, and it can't be 7, 9, or 6. So that's an 8. This is a 2 or 3. These 3 digits are now 7, 5, 4. Okay. This 2 actually makes that a 3 and that a 2. 4 can't be 2. 4 could be with 6. 5 could be with 7. It can't be with 3. 7 could be with 5 or 9. Okay, that's not a 3. That places a 3 on here with either 5 or a 1. And that one can't be a 1. Okay. So 3 is not in any of those by sudoku. If that were a 3, it couldn't be a 1. So it'd have to go with a 5, but that would break that cell. So that's not a 3. So 3 is in one of those 3, it would seem. All right, this coloring has done what it needs to do. All right, here's a question. Can I put a 5 on here? That can't be a 5 because that can't be a 1-9 pair. Right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells in this loop. So if I don't have a 5, then that would work. If I do have a 5, I need to have 2 5s on here. Because if I only have 1 5, even though I know I've said that that can't be. So if that's 5, then that could be low, high, low, high, low. Which means, yes, because I don't have a place I can put a 5 where the 2 digits. Oh, yes, I could. I could go 5, 9, 9, and then I wouldn't actually be switching polarity. So if I went 5, 9, 9, that would be low, would have to be a 2, which it can't be because of that 2. So I can't place a 5 there. Can I place a 5 here? That could be 9, 9. Okay, just spotted something. Let's work on another part of the puzzle. This 4 and this 4 mean that 4 is in one of these two. If this is a 4, this has to be a 2 because it can't be a 6, and if this is a 4, this has to be a 2 because that's that's one of the only options available. So that is now a 2-4 pair. If this is a 2, this has to be a 5. If it's a 4, that has to be a 7. And it can't be a 7 because there's 7 there. So that is a 5. So that is a 2. That is a 4. These 3 digits are now 3, 6, 8. That is not a 3. That is not a 6. So yeah, let's just fill in candidates because I think that's just going to make things easier. That's 6, 7, or 8. That's 9, 1, 5. That's not a 1. That's not a 6. Okay. Right, if this is a 1, this is a 4. If this is a 5, this is 2 or 7. No, 2 or 8. It can't be a 2, so that would be 8. If this is a 9, this is a 6. Okay. So this can't be a 5 because that can't be a 1 or a 9. So that can't be a 8. So this can't be a 5, and this can't be a 5, and this can't be a 5. So 5 is not on any of those, so 5 is in one of these two. That makes this a 5, 7 pair. Okay, that's nice. All right. So, what's the best way to tackle this? Right, this digit can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. There we go. So that is a high digit. 6, 7, 8, or 9. But if that's a high digit, this must be a low digit. That makes that 4. That makes that 1. That can't be the 3. This has to be a high digit. In fact, we know that's not a 7. So that's 6, 8, or 9. In fact, it has to be, with S a 4, this is an 8, 9 pair. That 8, 9 pair makes this a 6. This a 9. This is now a 1. That doesn't resolve this. That can't be a 3. It could be 5. Oh, 5. 5, 6, or 7. We've got a 6, 8 pair here. That's a 3. That's a 5, 9. Four in this column is now here. Right. Where does 1 go in this box? Can't go there by sudoku. If it were there, it would have to go with a 3, but it can't do. So that must be a 1. That must be a 3. So this has to be a high digit with possibly including 5. That's not a 3. This is a 3 by sudoku. That is 6, 7, 8, or 9. Huh. But if that's 6 or 6, 7, 8, or 9 by sudoku, then it in fact has to be a 9 with a 5 here. And now this has to be a 5 as well. That's 8 and 9 there. That's a 6, that's an 8. This 9 makes this 5 and 9, and I think it shouldn't be too long before I'm teared up. That 5 looks up there. That's an 8. That's a 5. These are from 6, 7, and 8 by the column, but have to be 2 apart, so they have to be 6 and 8, and this 8 tells us the order. That's 6. That's 8. That's 7, 8, and 6. This is now a 7. This 5 makes this 7, this 5. We get a 4 here and a 7 here. These 2 digits should be 2 apart, and they are 4 and 6, which is good. That's 6, that's 4, that must be 2. This 7 is looking up, that's 9, that's 7, that's 8, that's 5, that's 9, that's 7 there. We get a 9 in here and a 7 in here. Another lovely puzzle from the set, and yeah, I am looking forward to seeing the entire project. Well, if you enjoyed this solve, then please hit the like button. You can subscribe to see some more, and I would love to hear your comments. I'm looking forward to next time. Be seeing you.